guys, my name is Bianca and welcome to my channel. So I have recently finished writing my first book and it's called Perfectly Fractured, and I've learnt a lot from this experience and I wanted to share with you all today what I have learnt. So I'm going to talk to you guys about the 7 things that I learnt from writing my first book. So writing a book is not an easy process. I made a lot of mistakes along the way. I learnt a lot of lessons, and the first lesson that I learnt is do not write a book if you don't have passion for it. If you don't have passion for your writing, your book's never going to get published. It's a long process, it's a hard process, it takes a lot of time, and if you don't have passion, you're probably going to end up stopping halfway throughout the process and you're not really going to get that book done and you're not going to stay committed to getting that book published. So passion is essential for being an author. You need to love writing, you need to be really confident about your writing. This leads me on to my next point, which is being an author is hard work. There are endless hours that go into writing. There are times where you're stressed, you have a headache, you don't feel like writing, but you have to sit down anyway to get that done. And I know that I had no idea how much work went into it when I first started the process. I was under the illusion that the main part of writing a book was just getting that first draft down and then maybe edit a little bit and then it'll be fine. But there is so much more to the process than that, and I learned that lesson the hard way. My next lesson applies mostly to indie authors, and that is that when you're an author, it doesn't just mean that you're writing, it means that you have to take on a variety of roles. You need to be your own writer, your own editor, your own designer, your own marketer. There are so many roles that you need to play, so it's not just getting that book done. There are all these different steps that you have to go through to make sure that your book is ready for publishing. So writing is just one small aspect of this process. I know that I stressed for hours trying to design my book cover, trying to find the right image, getting the blurb done. Even I think one of the hardest bits is marketing your book. So marketing even takes hours upon hours, making posts, communicating with your audience. So it is so much hard work, and if you're not willing to play those roles, I guess you can hire someone to do some of those parts for you. But if you really want your own hand in the creative process and you think you're capable, then you need to be willing to take on all these different roles as a self-published author. The next lesson that I learned is goal setting. Goals are super important in this whole process. I think I never would have gotten my book done if I didn't set some goals. And I know that some people really struggle with motivation, and I think that goals are just a really great way to beat that. There were times where I felt like I couldn't really meet the goals that I made, but then I kept on persevering, and through some hard work I did end up meeting them. Even some of my goals too, they may have dragged out longer than what I anticipated, but I still pushed on and I got them done. So when I was writing my first book, I wrote both short-term and long-term goals. I think it's really important to have both. So my short-term goals were mostly daily goals. What did I want to get done today? And my long-term goals were more so, okay, what step in the process do I want done through different months, different time periods? So when do I want my blurb done? When do I want my book cover done? When do I want this edit done? When do I want to publish my book? What month do I want to publish my book? So long-term goals are looking into the future of when you want this book done. I think it's really important to stay organized, and goals are the perfect way to do that. So my next lesson is the final draft is never the final draft. I learned this the hard way. So throughout the process of writing my first book, I got to a point where I thought that my manuscript was sounding good and I was ready to print it out and show it to my beta readers, and I was feeling really happy about it. But I ended up taking a break away from my manuscript for a month or so, and I realized that this wasn't the book that I wanted it to be. There was still a lot of work that needed to be done, scenes rewritten, and it was a bit disheartening because you get all worked up and you're like, oh my god, I'm nearly done, I've got this, like I'm gonna make these goals that I've set. and then you realize that you've got to do stuff all over again. I think you realize this once you show your writing to other people. So once I show my writing to my beta readers and an editor and getting other people's opinions, you realize that you have made mistakes and that some things really need to be fixed that you may not have noticed as the writer. And I think you spent so much time with the story, it's hard to look at your story with subjective eyes and through the reader's eyes. So I think it's really important to get a second opinion to make sure that, you know, you're not putting out work that's not the best that it could be. So the final draft is never the final draft. I'm sorry to say this, but it's so true. My next lesson is one of the hardest lessons that I have learned during this process. It's hard for me to digest because I'm such a big perfectionist. So the lesson is your book is never going to be perfect. No one is perfect. No one's a perfect writer. There's always going to be something that someone else may not like. Perfect doesn't exist. And I know that over the editing process, I have fixated a lot about getting this right, getting it done. And I think that sometimes books can go through multiple drafts and you still find mistakes. So there has to come to a point where you call it quits and you realize that this book is good enough and that you want to share this book with the world. Even with Perfectly Fractured, I have realized that, you know, oh yeah, I could do another draft, I could do another edit, I could make this even better. But if I keep on doing this over and over and over again, I'm not going to be able to share it with the world. And I really want to be able to get my work out there and to share my story with others and to not be so hard on myself. Sometimes I put a lot of pressure on myself for my writing to be the best that it can be. But sometimes all it has to be is good. It has to be to a certain standard, of course, but it just needs to get out there. Like, you're always going to be critical of yourself, you're always going to find mistakes, but sometimes it comes to a point where you got to realize that you're not going to have the perfect book. So the last lesson that I have learned is probably the best lesson out of all of them, and that is writing a book is the most satisfying experience. When I got my book and I got it printed out and I had the book in front of me and I was looking at all this hard work that I put into it, I was so happy and I just couldn't believe it. Like, you put in all this time, all these months of hard work, and then you sort of see the final result and you realize that I did this. Like, I can't believe I've got a book sitting right in front of me. Like, some people go their whole lives without publishing their writing or seeing the end results or even finishing a book. And knowing that, like, you've done this, and even for yourself, you realize, wow, like, I've done this. And yeah, I'm so glad that I've gone through this process and that Perfectly Fractured is going to be published. And I'm just satisfied that I have followed through with my dream, I've followed through with my goal, and that was to be a published author. And I've done it. Like, I've published a book, I've gone through, and I've really proven to myself that I can do it. That's all I have for you today. So these are the lessons that I learned when I was writing my first book, and I hope some of these lessons helped you guys with your writing journey. If you're interested in more writing related videos, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you for watching.